This is a low intensity strength session designed to support your premenstrual and menstrual phases. So, in the Lune roadmap of exercise, we look at this time between cycles as a transition phase. What that means is it can be something of a wild card. It can be different from woman to woman and can be very different for each woman from cycle to cycle, depending on what's been going on in your life, how you've been eating, how you've been moving your body, what your stress has looked like. So, there's lots of factors that contribute to your lived experience during this bridge between cycles. So it's any time in the last few days of your cycle through your heaviest days of flow where we see a few things happening. We see a very sharp decline in hormones. So it's this very fast and impressive hormonal change that it takes to signal the release of your uterine lining and the onset of your period. With that, we see a little bit of mood turbulence. We typically see lower energy levels because menstruation is energetically taxing. Your body has other priorities that it is committed to during this time. So rather than trying to compete for resources with those reproductive priorities, we're toning it down. We're taking the intensity to just about 50%. We're working with lighter weights, if any weight at all. And we're really just looking to improve circulation, to get our blood pumping, to support that healthy menstruation process, to help kind of signal the release of the uterine lining and clear any stagnation, anything that might feel a little bit stuck. So today we have some pretty simple movement patterns for the lower body. We're taking the first round body weight only, same with the last round. Those will be sort of our warm up and cool down. And then you have the option to add very light weights in the second round. So just to get enough feedback to kind of wake up a sleepy body, to kind of keep your muscles online so that you're not kind of taking a break from your strength training altogether during this kind of transition time, but you're still allowing those muscles to participate, to stay awake and online. We're shifting into more of that protect energy profile because we start to see inflammation on the rise. So it's the body's natural healing process. It's what facilitates menstruation. So we don't want our exercise practice to kind of amplify that inflammation response. Instead, we want it to soothe. So we're looking for more of that circulation, the body weight movement, that steady and low intensity flow. So you'll get all of that for today. We are working with 40-second movement intervals, 20 seconds to transition and recover, though you can kind of keep that steady pace throughout. We're not hitting high intensities by any means. And we have 8 exercises that we'll move through in 3 rounds. So that first portion, lower body focus, is 24 minutes long. And then we have a quick glute finisher, again, just to wake up sleepy glutes. This is a great one if you are experiencing any low belly pain or low back pain. We are in both a supine and prone position, and we're really articulating and waking up the glutes. So that can support kind of alleviation of any low pelvic and lower back symptoms. That one, again, same interval structure, but we just have 2 exercises that we're completing in 3 rounds. So all in all, this workout comes in right around 30 minutes. It's just the right intensity to help you navigate this transition between cycles with greater ease and to kind of bank a little bit of energetic capital so that you can hit it more with more power, more intention in your next cycle. So let's get into today's workout. Welcome to your lower body strength workout designed for your menstrual phase. Today in our practice, all you will need is an elevated surface, something like a chair or a bench. This one will be more challenging the higher you go up. So if you're looking to kind of turn down the intensity even further, you can use a smaller surface. You can use the bottom stair of your staircase, something just to give you that little bit of elevation. You also have the option of using a little bit of weight in the second round. So we're doing body weight only as a warm-up and cool down. And then our middle round, you can add a single dumbbell, something that is enough to feel some feedback from your muscles, but not so much that you are even approaching that high intensity threshold. So I'm using a 15-pound dumbbell for today. We have 40-second working intervals with 20 seconds of rest. They are quick transitions to kind of keep us within that 20-minute time frame for this workout portion. So if you are new to this practice or you want just a quick overview of the workout, workout, I encourage you to check out the movement tutorial linked in the video description below. That will give you all of the movement patterns, ways to scale and progress. It's a great way to kind of get a quick summary of the workout if you want to move without the video. So that is available for you in the description. I'll get our timer started. We've got 20 seconds to set up for our first body weight round. The first exercise is a simple reverse lunge to a side lunge. We're working the same leg through this entire interval, and then we will switch sides. So in about 10 seconds, we'll move. You have the option of bringing the feet together between these two lunge variations, or kind of adding a little bit of balance, lifting that knee up. Let's begin now. So first option is to step the feet together in between each lunge. Second option would be to create a little bit of balance between each one. So you're lifting that knee, finding more of that balance challenge in the standing leg here. Your pace is slow and steady. In this body weight round, we're just looking to use it as a warm-up. So nothing too strenuous. I really want you to pay attention to your heart rate and to the signals from your body. It's what makes these workouts menstrual phase friendly. And rest is when we are keeping that intensity nice and low. So you're wanting to stay around 50% of your max heart rate. For me, that's somewhere around 125, depending on how you calculate it. So we'll get ready to move in 5 seconds. We're switching sides, reverse lunge to side lunge. Here we go. Take it back to center to the side. As you come into each lunge, I want you to really focus on keeping the chest elevated. You can get a slight forward lean in that reverse lunge where you're bringing your hand to the inseam of your front foot and then doing the same in your side lunge. This will come in handy when and if you choose to use weights in the second round. We'll be taking that dumbbell to the floor. So you can start to get that pattern in your body now of taking the opposite hand to the inseam of the working leg. Last one. And rest, shake it out. Next up is our staggered good morning to a prisoner squat. So you'll step one foot just slightly back, enough to get that staggered stance. Press your head into your hands, let your elbows come out wide. Draw the front ribs in. We move the spine together. Let's begin. Fold the body in half. Step the feet together. Prisoner squat. Chest stays lifted. Stagger the other foot. Hinge at the hips. Feet together. And a squat. I really love pairing the hinge pattern with a squat pattern so that you can feel the difference in your body between letting the chest come forward in more of a bow and then keeping the chest elevated as you sit back into that chair. And this one, when we add the weights, will be in that back squat pattern. So you can just have the weight resting on the upper back, the trapezius, and rest. Shake it out. Next up, we come into our step up and a slow lower. So here, I want you to really focus on slowing and controlling that descent down. So we're doing one leg at a time. We'll begin in 2, 3, 2, 1. So you step up with some power. And then this is the part I want you to pay attention to, that slow lower. Drive the foot up and slowly lower down. When you add weight, you can have the weight in one hand, getting a little asymmetrical loading. You can have it behind, at the chest, wherever it's most comfortable for you. These menstrual phase workouts, we're really looking to tap into mind-muscle connection. So anything that allows you to move slowly and to really feel the muscle recruitment patterns that we're looking for. So nice and slow on the way down. You've got that slight forward lean because we're looking to kind of activate the glutes and rest, switching sides. So you'll take the opposite foot up and we'll come into our step up on the other side. I want you to experience the difference too in these single-sided exercises between your dominant side and your non-dominant side. So we're allowing each side of the body to work independently here. Let's begin. Press it up. Slow lower. Nice and easy. Find what you need for balance. Sometimes I like to take one hand out to the side, almost like you were walking on a tightrope here. You might take both arms out to the side so that you can really put the focus on that front leg, on that working leg, nice and slow. Keep the weight shifting back into your heel. We've got 5 more seconds here, nice and easy. And rest. So keeping that pace nice and slow is what makes these workouts period friendly, because we're improving circulation, we're promoting that little boost of endorphins without the excess strain. Next, we're going to come into a kneeling position. I want your toes to be facing back parallel. Cross the hands to opposite shoulders, and we simply lean back, press through the shins, tops of the feet to come forward. I want you to curl hip bones and lower ribs toward each other. Stretch up through the chest. You should feel this activating the quads. You don't have to come too far back, but try and challenge your knee flexion here, a little bit more mobility, more range of motion, while keeping the spine in that plank position so it's straight all the way down, all the way up. I want you to avoid any wriggling or squirming to get up and down. Keep the tops of the feet anchoring to the floor. Last one, and rest. Next up, we'll come back to a surrender squat. So this one, you have a couple of different options. You can hold the chair if you need extra balance. The first variation is just going to be to bring the shin down. The second variation, the full expression, is to come all the way down to your squat. Let's begin. So we're doing single-sided work here. You can come up, bring the knee up if you wish. Come down all the way or halfway. So if you're halfway, just coming to the shin, sitting back into that chair on the working leg. So you're driving through the heel to create that squat movement pattern. So this might feel a little bit like a lunge because you have one leg going back, but I want it to feel more like a squat. So you're activating the quads, activating the glutes. Full expression is where you come all the way, hips to that back heel, and come up. Let's switch. We've got our final exercise, that surrender squat, on the second side. So again, you might use the back of your chair or even a wall for extra balance support. This one does have that element of single leg balance. Let's begin now. So halfway, you're coming to your shin and back up. Full expression, you're coming all the way down to your seat and back up. You'll feel that difference in the working leg, where when you come all the way down, has a little bit more of a mobility challenge. You have to get access to that hip strength from that fully flexed position. Reconnect to your breath if you've lost it. So I want you to focus on inhaling as you come down, nice and slow, and then exhaling all the way up. This is our last exercise of our warming round. Shake it out. Now you have the option of adding a little bit of weight. So our first exercise is that reverse lunge to side lunge. And here you're taking, if you have that weight, you're taking the dumbbell to the inseam of the foot and exchanging between hands as you change the lunge format. So we step back, switch to the side, and switch. Again, you have the option for balance here if you want it. So you have that slight hinge to get the dumbbell to the inseam, but it's still a squat pattern. So a reverse lunge, or you can think of it as a split squat, where you're squatting with that front leg to get the weight to the inseam. You can add a little bit of that arm flow here, taking the opposite arm out to the side, and rest. Shake it out. So long as, again, you feel your breathing under control. That one got my heart rate up just a little bit, so making sure to recover completely, regain control over the breath here. Last 3, 2, and 1. Second side, come back, switch the dumbbell to the side, and switch. So make that transition nice and smooth, just giving the weight from one hand to the other. Maybe that opposite arm comes out to the side, Get a little bit of activation for the upper back. Here we go. So this is our weighted round. We don't really have too much intensity building in the menstrual phase, but we can still follow that typical arc of the workout where we kind of have our peak effort and then we slow it down, rest. Next up is our staggered good morning to a back squat. So here, if you're using the weight, you've got it on the upper trapezius and the deltoids. We're wrapping the elbows in. Make sure they're nice and close to the midline. Feet are hip shoulder width apart, and we come into that staggered stance, fold the body in half, and then a back squat. You got it. Nice and slow. Brace the belly. Hinge halfway. Come through center. Squat. So you should start to feel just a little bit of that heat now. Nothing, as I mentioned, too strenuous, but it's enough to feel the feedback. You feel the muscles recruiting the way that we want, those key patterns firing. So it keeps our muscles awake and online during the menstrual phase, but without rest, competing for resources when we're preparing and moving through what can be a very energetically taxing time of menstruation. So it takes a pretty impressive hormonal change to make that happen, and that takes a lot of energy. Coming into our step up next. So if you have the weight, it can be in the opposite hand or at the chest. Let's get ready and begin. Take it up, slow, lower down. So again, here you're aiming that weight, if you have it in the opposite hand, toward the inseam of the foot. So we're keeping it nice and close to the body. It's a light enough weight that you can also have it at the chest. If that's more comfortable, you can have it on your back. So find the pattern that works best for you. I kind of like the asymmetrical load for what it adds in terms of core stabilization and kind of the accessory muscles that work to balance left to right. That asymmetrical loading brings a lot to the equation. Last 3, 2, and 1. We'll switch sides next, so you can take your weight in the opposite hand or take a bit of a posture break, setting the weights down if you wish. We'll move in 10 seconds. Bring that foot up, and let's get ready to move. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Press it up, nice and slow, lower down. So you can pause at the bottom if you really want to kind of tap into the step up, or you can sort of just hover at the bottom if you want to spend more time under tension for that working leg. So you might have very light weight in that back foot. Again, asymmetrical loading here. If you have the weight in the opposite hand, you might find your balance wavering a bit, perhaps even more at this time in the cycle, where we're moving through a hormonal transition. So hormones are changing. That can kind of throw our balance off a little bit, and rest. But don't sweat it. Find more support where you need it. Maybe you're holding onto the wall or your chair. Coming into our kneeling position for that quad extension next. Make sure the shins and feet are pointing straight back. Bring your weight to the chest, cross to opposite shoulders. Lift the hip points toward the low ribs. We lean it back. This one, you might not have quite as much range of motion because we're adding that little bit of weight. I want you to be mindful of arching the back. So really lift hip points up toward the low ribs. That should help you tap into the quads even more. Shoulders and hips are in that straight line. Even from the crown of the head to the tailbone, you've got that line moving together, down and back up. Definitely feeling the quads fire in this exercise. Last 2 and 1. Excellent job. Slowly come up. You can set that weight down just for a moment. We've got our surrender squat next. So again, this one you can perform with that added weight or no weight whatsoever. Just focus on your form, getting more range of motion each time. Here we go. So we take that shin back, either halfway just to the shin, or you're coming all the way to your seat for that full surrender squat. Coming down, make sure you're sitting back into the hips so that the knee stays more or less over the ankle, maybe slightly knees over toes, but looking more for that strong, stable loading angle in the knee, driving through that front heel. So you've got very little effort happening in the leg that is moving. There's maybe a tendency to kind of push off that back leg, rest. I want you to keep it in the front foot. So we'll keep that in mind as we move to the second side. We're getting close to completing our working round. So the round with the weights here. This is our final exercise. 3, 2, and 1. So we come down into that surrender squat and come up. You can add that element of single leg balance if you wish to hug the knee in. Again, I want you to focus on that slow and steady pace. Get more time under tension, which creates less intensity, but helps keep your muscles awake and online so that we don't have to just rest for a full week as we approach and during our period. There's still some work to be done, but it is the work of protecting that hard-earned muscle. You can set your weight off to the side now. We're coming into our cooling round. So just 8 more minutes, this time body weight only. I want you to really focus on mind-muscle connection. Move slowly so that you feel the muscles working. Let's get ready for our reverse lunge to side lunge. Here we go. Again, you have that option of bringing one hand to the inseam of the foot and the opposite hand out to the side. Alternating here. So you're traveling some space, some distance with that moving leg, both back and to the side. Feel free to slow the pace down even more. You can make this more about the stretch, less about the strength pattern if you wish. Or just stay at this slow, steady pace. So in the menstrual phase, we won't ever get rest too high up with the intensity. So you're in that warming, cooling mode for most of the practice from start to finish. We've got 10 seconds and then we're moving to the other side. Reverse lunge to a side lunge. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Take it down, come through center and to the side. You got it. Nice and slow. See if you can spend a little time, if you're adding that balance, finding the stable point before you move into the next movement. So before you change to the other lunge variation, finding that balance point in the center, especially now in the cool down round, can find those slower movements, that more fluid transition from one to the next. 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out. We've got our staggered good morning to a prisoner squat this time. We've just got our hands behind the head. So you press your head into your hands to keep the chest upright. I love this body position for squats. Really helps you get the movement pattern right. Let's begin. Stagger the stance. Fold the body in half. Feet come together. Squat. So feel the difference. Articulate the difference between your hinge and your squat movement pattern. They are very different. And I think a lot of times the line between the two gets a little bit blurred, where our squats tend to have a little bit of a hinge component. Maybe our hinges have a little bit of squat in them. Can you create more of a clear boundary between these two movement patterns so that you are recruiting front and backs of the legs more evenly? And rest. Shake it out. Step ups are next. We've got just under 4 minutes left in this portion of the workout. We have a quick finisher to close it out to bring us right to that 30-minute mark. So we'll come to our step ups in 3, 2, 1. Step it up and lower down. Nice and easy. As best as you can, keep the shoulders over the hips. So you've got that nice straight spine. Down and up. Really loading that front leg by driving through the heel. You got this. Down and up. Slow it down even further if you like. Maybe take out that tap at the bottom. So you're just hovering. You're keeping that tension in the glute the entire time. And up. We've got 3, 2, and 1. Slowly exchange. You should feel a little bit of inner thigh work for that too as you stabilize that step down pattern. Roll out the shoulders, shake it out a bit. We'll move in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's begin. Take it up, slow lower down. Start to feel your heart rate dropping even just a little bit in this cool down round. So we kind of build to that peak and then guide the body back down. We worked the warm up and cool down into the practice itself. So this one, a great way to get in a solid strength session that won't create too much strain, that won't demand energy and put you into the red to start your next cycle. We want to be mindful with how we spend energy in the second half. And rest. Kneeling quad extensions are next. So we send the shins and the feet straight back. Really want you to take out the arch in the lower back, curl the hip bones toward the low ribs, pubic bone toward the navel, your sitting bones toward your inner knees. Cross to opposite shoulders. Let's begin. Take it back. Experiment maybe with a little more range of motion now that we've released the weight. Can you get a little further back and still spread all 10 toes wide? If you have shoes on inside your shoes, spread those toes wide so that you have all 10 pads pressing into the floor. You might even feel the glutes firing a little bit at different phases of the motion as you move through different angles. So just becoming sort of keenly aware of those different sensations, those different activation patterns. Rest. Let's step it up. We have just 2 more exercises left. Shake it out. Our surrender squat is next. Breathe it in and slow exhale. We've got 3, 2, and 1. Surrender squat, either all the way down or halfway just to the shin. Again, this one, you're feeling more of that stretch, spending more time, maybe in that squat position. Nice and slow. After we complete this exercise on both sides, we'll come into a very brief finisher. We're doing just a simple body weight bridge and some reverse frog pumps to target the glutes to finish strong. I love kind of ending with a glute finisher to help keep you aware of the glutes throughout your day. Rest. So that when you feel them, it helps us remember posture. It helps us carry ourselves more powerfully through the rest of the day. We've got about 10 more seconds. We'll finish out this side and our final exercise of this portion of the workout. 3, 2, 1. Bring it down and come up. Nice and slow, nice and steady. You got this. Down and up. Keep that chest lifted if you can. So you want to imagine the spine staying straight up and down all the way through each rep. You are so close to the end. You showed up during your menstrual phase. I want you to start celebrating that already here. You are supporting a better period. You are supporting a strong next cycle. Rest. Shake it out. I'm going to stop our timer for now as you move through just some dynamic hip circles. Maybe you're walking around your mat. We're going to use the chair for our bridge, and then we'll flip over onto the belly for those frog pumps. We have the same interval structure. We're working for 40 seconds, resting, or transitioning for 20. So again, shouldn't be super high intensity in that working interval. You're just using most of that 20 seconds to change body position. So from the back to the belly. I'll get 20 seconds started now for us to set up. If it feels okay in your spine, I want you to lift your heels onto that elevated surface. Otherwise, you can keep your feet on the floor. I want you to, as you come up, curl the hip bones and the lower ribs toward each other so that you're not puffing the belly up. Arms are resting by your sides. Keep the shoulders grounded. Let's begin. We lift it up into that bridge and come back down. Drive through the heels. As you come up to the top, I want you to squeeze inner thighs, inner knees together. Imagine you had a block or a ball between your inner knees. You're trying not to drop it. Also want you to get that slight curl of the tailbone under as you come up. Breathe in as you come down. This should feel comfortable in the lower back. I don't want you to feel any strain. If you do, a couple of options. You can bring your hips closer to that chair or bring your feet down to the mat. Nice and smooth transition. We're going to roll onto the back. I want you to take your knees wide apart, big toes, heels, and inner edges of the feet touch. Your knees are wide, hips are grounded. We've got the forehead resting on the hands. We're simply going to lift the knees and pump. Here we go. We lift the knees, squeeze the glutes, and come down. This is not a huge movement. I want you to focus it mostly on the glutes. Your lower back will participate, but we want to focus this on that glute activation. We do that by keeping the hip bones grounded, keeping the pubic bone grounded. Sometimes it can be nice to have a blanket or a cushion if you feel any sensitivity around the pubic bone. I want you to keep the big toe side and the inner heel pressing to the center. So you've got that added squeeze to the midline to help articulate that glute activation. And we switch, coming into round 2. Nice and easy. Roll onto your back. Bring the heels up if you wish. Come into position for our glute bridge. We have 3 rounds of this, so we're just doing 3, each exercise 3 times. And let's begin. Lift it up, squeeze the glutes, slowly lower. I want you to feel that mobility in the pelvis, that you can kind of rotate the pelvis forward and back to get that extension and flexion in the hips, that you don't necessarily have to arch the lower back to come down. It can stay pretty neutral, and that movement, that mobility can happen within the pelvis, within that structure as it rotates back and forward, or forward rather and back as you come up. So you keep hugging the hip bones toward those low ribs at the top and rest. Nice and easy. We'll roll over to the belly, frog pumps once again. Round 2. So knees are nice and wide. I like to set it up like child's pose. Bring the hips down. Feet come up. We create a pillow with the hands. Squeeze the inner edges of the feet. And let's begin. Lift the knees as high as you can go without producing any strain in the lower back. So you're really isolating the glutes here. You're teaching the glutes how to wake up, how to fire on their own. A lot of times we find the lower back comes online to take over for sleepy glutes, but here we are really allowing those glutes to work. Really feel that difference. It's a subtle movement, doesn't have to be a huge lift, but you should still feel that in the glutes. Squeeze the inner edges of the feet together. Last 2 and 1. Coming into our final round now. We're coming right up on the 30-minute mark. I want you to come to your chair. Feet come up. Let's get ready to lift the hips in 3, 2, 1. Press it up. Squeeze the inner knees and come down. So again, feel the articulation of the pelvis here. I want you to keep the belly hugging in. Try to take out some of that arch in the lower back. So we keep it more neutral as you come down. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the inner thighs, inner knees to the midline. Root down through the heels. That'll help activate the hamstrings. So this is backs of the legs all the way down. Getting so close to the end here. And switch. So we'll come on to the belly for our final round of these frog pumps. We'll slowly lower, bring the knees wide, feet together. We'll move in about 5 seconds. So really press the big toe side of the feet, inner heels together, and lift. Lift. You might add a little bit, a few extra reps by keeping it pretty continuous, or maybe you're squeezing, pausing at the top, and then releasing. So lots of different modes to play with in the menstrual phase, because they're all low intensity. So we're keeping that threshold secure. We're not even really brushing up against it in today's practice. But you can feel there's still work to be done. There's still a challenge there. Last 3, 2, and 1. I want you to slowly press up. So we used our final round as a cool down, but I want to give you just a quick seated glute stretch so you can release any tension from the glutes. You don't want to take that with you into your day. So cross one ankle over the knee, bring fingertips or peaceful fists behind you, walk the opposite heel in. I want you to press down through the hands so that you're moving your chest toward that top shin. Dial that knee open and maybe sway side to side. So we'll be here for just a few breaths, really kind of trying to release that residual tension that might be there from our glute finisher. And you're slowing the breath, taking that deep whole body sigh. Let's switch sides. Other ankle crosses the knee, pressing up, lifting through the chest. So really try not to round in the upper back here. Flexing that top foot, pressing the knee open. You might find that gentle sway side to side here. Continue deepening your breath. So even this low intensity exercise, it does elicit a bit of a stress response. So I really want you to focus on kind of letting that response resolve. You're sending that signal of security to the body here. And then nice and easy, we'll transition from this seated position, slowly rolling up halfway. Breathing in, and then all the way up. Let's enjoy a huge breath together. Inhale. And exhale, sigh. That completes your workout for today. I will include my favorite lower body cool down in the description if you have extra time and you want a little bit more stretch for the lower body, but hopefully this felt pretty slow, pretty steady, not too strenuous, so you can just move on with the rest of your day now. I want to thank you so much for showing up during this somewhat turbulent time in the cycle, for using movement as medicine to help keep you anchored, to keep showing up for yourself, to keep your body awake and alive. Thank you for being here and for letting your body be moved.